what does a united or a Pan-Africanist
Pan-African.
Pan-African, what I want to say
I don't know. Pan-African.
what does a Pan-African Africa look like?
But for Nigerians, we would rather find that comfort in another Nigeria.
Than another Africa.
Because to us, to some extent, another African is still a foreigner.
So we thought to be like...
I don't know. I think we just have main character energy.
That's it.
That's it.
Hard. Like hard. Like... Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Japa Diaries. And as you can see, another sibling link up. I go.
We're here together.
Yes, we're here still documenting the experience of African immigrants in the diaspora. And in addition being with each other here today, we also have a guest here today. I prefer to introduce our guest.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, don't act like you don't like me being here. He literally just said like a couple
Oh
of
my god.
minutes ago,
Oh my god.
oh, like his favorite thing is like being able to come home to like his sister and his fiancé, and it's just he feels so happy, like he's the happiest person.
Okay, did you ask for that part?
So I just want to let people know that like we're actually very grateful to have me in your in your presence, and I'm glad to provide the endorphins and that thing.
Anyway.
But our guest, this episode is about our guest. Today, guys, we have a non-Nigerian. I hope you're very happy. Our guest today is Loïc from Burundi. Hi, Loïc.
Hi,
Welcome to the
Louis.
podcast.
Hello. Hi, thank you.
First of all, I like your sweater. I said this before. Well,
Thank you. It's a little, I'm freezing in my apartment, but it's perfect. I like this temperature.
There you go. Where in Burundi are you from, Loïc?
Bujumbura. It used to be the capital, but actually changed about like 2 years ago, 3 or 5, actually, no. But it's changed. It's still like the economic hub of the country, though.
Giving Lagos.
Yeah.
Why do I want to say that Burundi is a francophone country, but that feels wrong?
It is.
Oh, look at that.
It is. The French
Sorry,
speaking
Loïc,
nation.
didn't give it away?
No, for sure. But I was like, Burundi? I was like, Malik, are you sure? Yeah, come on.
Yeah. And Burundi is East Africa.
We're kind of like,
You see? You see?
we're like a tiny
I feel like,
francophone spot.
I feel like the francophone countries
Yeah.
are more
Typically
west or central.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was...
It's sure. We're only surrounded, except like DRC, like Congo. Well, the one that used to be francophone as well, so they transitioned about a few years ago. But we're really just like the only French-speaking part, but everybody else is anglophone.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I was saying, can we get straight into it? Is Loïc going to tell us his Japa story before he tells us about what it's like growing up in Burundi?
Yeah.
Yeah? Floor's yours.
Yes, sir. Oh, hi everyone. Should I introduce myself first, right?
You can do that.
Yeah. Okay. I am Loïc. I'm from Burundi, like I said. I'm a software engineer. Based in Austin, Texas. I've been living here for 4 years now. Yeah, I think that's about it. Really, I don't really have an extensive introduction like that, but yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Sure.
Yeah.
No. Amen.
Honorable.
No, actually, so I think we should explain what the episode is about.
Okay.
Because I think the entire episode is basically about his Japan story. So the reason I have Loïc, or the reason why we have Loïc on today is because we always hear a lot of stories about people migrating to the West from Africa. But we don't have a lot of stories of people migrating within Africa, right? And from the research that we've done, it's actually the more popular route for a lot of Africans to stay within the continent. So even though Loïc is in Austin right now, we actually have him here to talk about his Japa experience moving from Burundi to South Africa for A-levels, right? But before I guess we get into your experience in South Africa, like talk to us, like what was growing up in Burundi like?
Yeah. Yeah, growing up in Burundi was pretty standard, I'd say. Regular childhood.
Define regular. Because five children in a household is not a regular experience for love.
Wow. Now y'all coming from my family planning or lack thereof.
No.
Like it's kind of like it's familiar and both like somewhat isolated. Like so I'd say my experience is kind of like largely shaped by like French media because that's what we grew up on. Like as opposed to like other people who grew up in like like English speaking countries like you guys.
So you guys have DSTV? You guys have DSTV?
We did, but like we didn't really consume it like that. Like we watched a lot of French, like mostly French media. Like see how you guys I guess grew up on like American cartoons or like I guess like British TV. For us it's like French, mostly French and some a little bit of Belgium, but really mostly French. So that's how it kind of differs. But I say Burundi is kind of interesting because we also grew up consuming a lot of TV from everywhere else. Like I grew up watching shows from like Burkina Faso or like Ivory Coast, Senegal. Of course, we did consume like Nigerian music, Tanzania, like South Africa. It's kind of like we're not really widely recognized, like acknowledged globally, like but like ironically we're actually attuned to like the rest of the world. So it's always been kind of interesting being outside of Burundi where I knew about everybody else but nobody knows.
But they knew about
so that's kind of so but so that's kind of the experience we had. Of course we did consume a lot of American TV as well because what parts of the world does American TV not reach? Honestly,
you guys skip Hollywood.
Yeah, but funny enough, a lot of the shows that you guys grew up watching in English, we watched like the translated version in French.
So like a translated like That's So Raven?
Not like the original. Like it was not weird for me to be watching, for instance, like a show I always remember. It was popular back home, but I don't know if it was popular in other African countries like France.
Friends,
Friends
was popular globally.
Yeah, it was a big daddy.
Oh, okay. I grew up watching that in French, so like I actually did not know their real voices.
Oh, that's true. And their mouths never matched what was being said.
Exactly. But it wasn't weird. It wasn't weird back then because I mean you don't understand English, so you're kind of used to it. Yeah, it's a norm. But yeah, that's kind of.
Was it fast paced? Like my experience of growing up in Lagos is very fast city.
I would. No, I don't know if I would ever compare Burundi to Nigeria. Lagos definitely sounds like it gives very much like a New York on the African continent, and Burundi was none of that. Yeah, very slow pace. So I think all of us, anybody who moves out of Burundi somewhere else, kind of has to adjust because we get comfortable.
Go to another African country because I would love to go to Africa and not being a chaotic mind state.
No, I think I will say even that chaotic mind state is actually very Lagos centered.
So
because other parts of Nigeria are not that chaotic.
But Lagos is also like a big city, right?
Yeah, well, just very we do also.
And we're all not well.
Yeah, that part too. No one is tight. You cannot be normal. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, what's the population? It's pretty large too, so that you're dealing with so many people. It's bouncing.
Yeah. I was gonna ask. So, like, with this exposure to like the rest of the world and everything, right? Did that, I guess, build a yearning for a life outside of Burundi? Like, where did that desire to leave come from?
That's a good question. I feel like because of our like history, we have a pretty turbulent history with like internal conflict. So I grew up being used to people leaving the country. Like it was pretty common for people to just once they're out, best believe you're not going to see them for a very long time. But of course, there's like, traveling out to the country for work and coming back. That, of course, that's always been a thing. But there's also this other story because of our issues within the country. I was pretty much used to people going and looking for a life somewhere else. But funny, so it was also common for individuals as well to pursue their education outside of Burundi, right? That I think that a lot of Africans can relate to that.
Yeah. So even in your household, a lot of your had any of your siblings left Burundi before, or were you the first? Okay. So it was pretty normal.
It was pretty normal. Like my dad went to school in the UK as well. I don't know, ever since I was a child, I just kind of had a deep-seated feeling that I just wouldn't be staying in Burundi indefinitely. It's just something I've always desired for myself. We can dive into the reasons behind that off the record, because some reasons are a little, but I've always kind of wanted to be out of Burundi,
That's fair. Oh, so I guess where are you in that order, and where did all your other siblings go?
Funny enough, actually, because I left pretty early. I was the first one to leave. My older siblings did not go anywhere. It's only me and my sister that left. My sister did not finish high school back home. She finished high school in Rwanda. I went to South Africa. My brother also had some schooling in Uganda as well. So I guess
so you guys are
anyone you like, you take.
Wow.
So why South Africa for you?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Honestly, South Africa was not a choice, an intentional choice. It was more so an opportunity that presented itself, and I was for someone that's always wanted to be out, I just jumped onto the opportunity, honestly. But, as you know, the school that I went to, there was a really big appealing aspect to it where, we can explain what ALA is, just the opportunity to be living with, I don't know how many nationalities in just one school, but being in one country, was just very exciting at that age. And for someone that wanted to get out. So it was a perfect opportunity that matches something that I've always wanted to do for myself.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So ALA is this melting pot of different Africans across the continent, and you were aware of that going in. How did you feel about that?
Oh, I was honored. Look, I was so funny at that point. So ALA, for those that don't know who are listening, it's essentially a 2-year program. It's a high school with the mission to develop the next generation of Afghan. So they kind of take students from all over the continent to come. So a cohort, at least in my generation, the average was 90 students, and it's from all over the continent, right? We also, of course, also had students from other countries outside the continent, but really, majority is mostly African students. So so that's the school. The mission is to develop the next generation of African leaders. I was blessed enough to be selected amongst that group for 2012.
Because it's a pretty competitive program, no?
Pretty competitive program. And honestly, I was very excited. I was sold on the idea. I was pretty ambitious at that age. It was also a very exciting thing, somebody's coming telling you about the future that we can build together.
They describe a utopia that you're I buy into this vision.
I'm with it.
Me, I didn't go on with
it. And it's just, I was excited about that idea. And I think, I don't think at that point I ever really thought about the network that would form there. At that point, I was just excited about the idea and to go after that type of future. And then all these other things came afterwards. I was oh yeah, this is it.
So had you ever been to South Africa prior to this? What were your expectations like? Never.
No, I had never really traveled to South Africa before. That was my first time. Did I have expectations? Expectations really based in fear, right? you know how we're like afraid, I guess, of there's some things that, you know, you're warned about. Like, I'll give an example. Like, see how here in America, right, you always hearing the worst of stories about Chicago. So you think that Chicago is this just like a war zone, right? And I think South Africa did not always have the best rep back home. There was that kind of like fear that like me being sent there at such a young age was going to just turn me into some God knows what. So I think
what were they telling you about South Africa? Like, what was your
what are the stereotypes?
No, like, yeah, like, or like what
the stereotypes
you said, yeah.
Going off of base a few like people knowing people who like, or people's children have gone to study there and how they've kind of come back a little different.
Like we would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thinking that like, because I was such, I don't want to say like, I was a pretty good kid. And I think the fear was that I would come back. Oh, the pretty good kid. The fear was that I would come back a little changed. It's just, I think it's just, everybody was just scared of change, but change is going to happen. Like, you know, just fear. So I don't think I necessarily had expectations for me, actually. I think for me, the general idea I described about how I felt was just excitement. I just want to change. Burundi, like I said, it's a tight-knit community. I had always been exposed to the same thing. It's Burundians. Like, we have one language, by the way. So north to south, east, west. So I guess one culture in that sense. So for me, it was just the idea of discovering something new.
Something different,
something different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So take us to the moment you actually like touched down South Africa, like from like getting to the airport to like settling in that first like night. Like what was that first like day or even first week like?
And also before you get into that, randomly and so unimportant, do you have a full South African accent?
I'm terrible with accent. So no.
Okay.
I'm terrible.
No, at all. Do you?
Do you? Piano.
No, definitely not.
Let me respect myself.
Yes. Please.
Going to South Africa was, like I said, my English was very, very, very minimal. So that's something to consider. I guess to the point as well, to kind of answer your question as well, I learned my English in an environment where there were like so many accents, right? So we had American staff, we also had like African staff from all over the continent, and then I have Nigerians, we have Kenyans, we have Ghanaians, and this is a space where I'm learning my English. Oh yeah, no.
So what accent did you adopt, or you were just
mixing it?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't. Yeah. Of course, now I think it's been heavily influenced by the fact that I went to like college here. But
this reminds me of
Haywan's episode.
Yeah, because I think we were talking to Haywan and she grew up in like Dubai in the UAE, and her English teacher was Indian, so she learned English with like Indian tonal inflection.
And she was actually talking like that, was she?
No, in the Diaries is complete.
Insert Haywan clip right here.
I was learning English in Dubai, and most of my school teachers were Indian. So I grew up with an Indian accent.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Like, and the crazy thing is my mom barely spoke English, but she was like, that doesn't look right.
That doesn't sound right. She could tell something was off.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Full on Indian accent, like shaking my head and like
no.
I don't think you guys understand. All my friends are Indian. I was like, Mom, what's the problem? This is how I talk. And my mom was like, no, people are gonna think you're making fun of them. And I
Oh my god,
Yes,
that's
yes,
funny.
yes.
It's so funny because even when I was in South Africa, I remember telling someone I could not make a difference between a British accent and American accent, which is kind of weird. At
Oh,
that
na
point, I was
English.
trying to
Well,
get
not really, because if you're
No, no,
English,
no, 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 no. If you're coming from French,
fair
oh,
enough,
na
fair
English.
enough, fair enough, fair enough.
You think I know the difference between a Senegalese accent and Cote d'Ivoire? Oh, na French to me.
Fairs,
Yeah.
fairs.
Huh?
It's just all, I was just saying, like, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between between an Ivorian accent and a Senegalese like accent because it just all sounds like French. So of course it
Exactly,
just
and
all
they're
sounds like English.
so different. They're so different. But to me, I remember I remember my first like English, like my actual English class. My teacher was British, and I remember it was kind of this exciting thing on campus that everybody would say, "Well, they has an accent," and I was there like, "Okay, sure." But everybody could tell that he has an accent, but I didn't know the guy had an accent. Please, I'm trying to get my vocabulary together. I don't know if I have
Yeah.
inflections and stuff.
Yeah,
That's so funny. So yeah, it was an experience. On my first time on campus was just, everybody would tell you I was pretty shy. Honestly, I was very young. I was the only one from Burundi. I feel like most people had at least one person from their country. So I arrived on campus, being the only one from Burundi, and it was my first time, of course, being in a boarding school as well. So it took time for me to adjust. It took time for me to
There's a lot
adjust.
of change at once.
A lot of change. I was excited internally, but there was so much happening around me that I had to adjust to. That excitement was never displayed. It was the only thing that was displayed was full on anxiety. Yeah.
I can't imagine it was easy to blend in. You must have definitely stood out.
Oh yeah. Shout out to my ADHD. It helped. I didn't know I had that. So I was able to sort of like, I don't know, to just use that to distract myself with choir, like integrating and because I was the only one you helped, that I had no choice. I couldn't be comfortable. I had to make friends with other people. It took time, but it happened. Yeah.
You didn't feel othered, because I can imagine, if everyone is from somewhere else in the world, right? And none of us, like, there's no set like status quo or anything like that, right? You'd be less likely to be othered. Yes or no?
Yeah. Was I othered? Honestly, no. They have some, they have values on campus. What do you guys feel like that? They have some values on campus as far as just to sort of like create the culture on campus. So there was really none of that, which I really appreciated.
Love that.
So yeah,
They said this is a safe space.
Love that.
Space. He was don't play yourself. So yeah,
that's pretty good. Well, do you remember who your first like friend on campus was? Like,
oh, funny. Nigerians, which is they were pretty kind to. Okay, the reason why I was close
Nigerian kind.
Yeah. Listen, we're kids at that point. You're not about, and it's we're also as much as.
What
What
happened?
I was going to say, I would argue that is even worse because, like, you're young and immature.
Oh no, I feel like ALA did not play that. Like, you can't really play yourself and go do something that would make anybody report you. So I think all of us tried to be on our best behavior. The reason why I'm saying my first one was Nigerian was that we had to do this thing where we had to go create a bank account, right? And the minimum age for that was 16 years old. And me and the Nigerian friend, shout out to your visit, we did not. We were 15. We were turning 16 in November. So we were put to the side, like, please come back when you are of age.
When adults.
I remember being on campus and realizing that I was visibly younger than many of the students on campus. And it also didn't help that I didn't speak the language. So it was like, geez, like, can I be any more different? So that time was like, oh, I'm on the side, but I also have somebody else that's on the side. So that's how we kind of bonded. So my friend did there, we kind of bonded over that. We're both Scorpios, so we had to wait until 10-16 before we could open our standard bank account.
Okay.
How long did it take to get up to speed with English? Do you think you got to a point where you felt comfortable while you were at ALA, or it kind of came after the fact?
Because the way instruction, like teaching and learning, is in English.
Yeah, everything is English. So nothing. Honestly, I would say my first semester was a lot of adjustment. Now when I talk to my former classmates, they would say that, oh, your English was good, we never noticed. But because I came with a little base, right? But it was never like solid English for me. I never really fooled in English. I had never done everything in English. There was still an adjustment. So I would say I was kind of okay. My first semester, I think that's what it took. I definitely had a hard time my first semester. I think after that, I don't know, I kind of picked it up pretty quick. My second semester was okay. I think we're getting there.
Because imagine me learning physics in another language.
No such thing. I could never.
Before I even write anything, just put zero.
Yeah. I would say that I feel quite literate in Spanish. I feel literate in Spanish. Like I feel like I can read and write Spanish.
¿Hablas español?
Sí. Sí.
You take a Spanish class?
Sí. Up to número 3.
Número 3.
Sí.
Okay.
Pero más años. I don't remember what Igu was. That's where I am, my Spanish at this point.
Pasado.
Okay. Pasado. Sí, gracias.
De nada.
Now you said me. Okay. So you're like, I guess in school with like a bunch of other Africans, essentially. And I know you said there wasn't like the culture on campus was to like not. It was essentially built to be a safe space, right? But in the times
inclusion was I would say the thing.
Yeah, like in the times where you left campus, or like even when you graduated and you spent like that, so you spent a year in South Africa, like after that, did you have any experiences with like xenophobia, that kind of thing? Because like when you talked about like the things that you hear about in South Africa, like what we hear about it's like the xenophobia.
Did I experience that? I was lucky enough to not. But I would definitely say that life outside of campus, because ALA was sort of a bubble, right? Like I told you. I wouldn't say being at ALA, I really got the Johannesburg experience of like, that was, I once lived in that was my city at some point. No, you were on campus, then you had to be chaperoned every time you got out of campus. So relax. But you know,
So
it was a
you
different experience working there.
South Africa.
I only experienced my gap here for just a little bit while I worked there. But even then, I feel like I was, I got like the expat experience, you know what I mean? For someone that's just there for just a few years, right? I think it's a different story for someone who goes and like make it life there, right? And has to interact with people there, and has to build
like high school there.
And go to high school there and experience what it feels like to live with other South Africans. I don't think I've really experienced that, because I would get up, go to my little office and work with people from the ALA network, and that's people from all over the continent, from other countries as well. So that's still not like a South African experience, right? Yeah. So I knew about the xenophobia. I've always known about that, but I think, like I said, that experience was that I get to live there and experience life with South Africans who can speak on that a little bit more confidently than I can.
How beneficial? Because I'm just thinking more about what ALA was doing or is doing. Like, obviously, a great idea we support, but like, you know, how important is it to have the concept of ALA as a thing? Why is it so important to build, a Pan-Africanist cohort of young potential leaders? Like, what is the benefit of that? And why are they, making those efforts? Do you think? Both of you, either of you can answer this question.
You go for it now, alumnus.
Okay, let me go. I think as Africans, right? We have this kind of shared history as far as I guess I don't want to limit it to colonization, right? Essentially we have a shared history, right, of quote unquote oppression, and it's just to create that network. We all have a goal, right, to develop the continent, and I think we will need each other, right? We need each other, and it's essentially to just create that sort of, to understand that if I become something, and let's say in Togo, and I know somebody was doing something great in Sierra Leone and was within my network, we can, build off of each other. We need each other, just to sort of create that connectivity that has not always been there within the continent. I think, so yeah, it's to really just essentially build that block of the world and make sure that we're interconnected than we've ever been before. So I think that's what's important when it comes to.
I agree, because also when I think about I guess our version of our own civil rights leaders, like the Azikiwes and the people who are doing the independence movement, a lot of them met in school in England or in the US. So Kwame Nkrumah. I almost said Kofi Annan. I said that's a different generation. But
that's UN ambassador.
Yes, yeah. So different.
They teach you guys how to school. They taught us that Kofi Annan guy. They taught us die.
But a lot of those guys met in school and they were exchanging ideas and that kind of thing. So when you bring that concept and you bring it to the continent and you make it continent based, you are creating that network across those communities. I think also to some extent it probably humanizes other Africans for you, right? Because there's the idea of you see them on TV or you know about them as your neighbors, but if you went to school with an Ivorian and a Sierra Leonean, you know more about the culture, so the people become real people to you as compared to just figures in your head of yeah, sure, there are other people, right? And then having that shared experience, I think it just, you literally have the network now. When you talk about it too, the network of people that you have across cities, across countries is insane. And also, given that you guys are supposed to be the best of the bunch, the idea is that you guys are actually going to go off to be baddies. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be doing really big things. And now you have another big thing guy in Nigeria, another big thing guy in South Africa. So if he's dreaming big about some African thing, he actually knows another guy interconnected, one or two things. Yeah. So I like this. See, if they're collecting the fellowship, let me go and look up what they're doing. I'll go.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this again. What does a socially, economically, what does a united or a Pan-Africanist
Pan-African,
what I want to say?
I don't know. Pan-African.
What does a
Pan-Africanist
Africa look like? What do you see in that utopia? Shared passport?
I see shared passports. I see a version of Eurostar. We need to be able to travel between ourselves. It's ridiculous that we can't do that the way we need to. I see, I guess, local or continental trade, a lot more continental trade. Yeah, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't your Utopian Africa.
I think it's really about that. I don't know about utopian share, but I guess in that Pan-Africanist goal, in that sense, it's really just like what she mentioned, trade mostly. There's also facilitating. It's really hard to travel within the continent, and that should not be the case for people who are sharing the same continent. It's ridiculous how difficult it is. Just to facilitate that, and to also, I guess, more of us relying on us than the outside to work on things that belong to us, right? We all know about our resources always having to go, as opposed to, like, I would love, let's say, a mining company from Nigeria collaborating more with a mining company from DRC than here, a Canadian mining company, DRC. Does it make sense? So things like that, essentially, our things happening on the continent, and not always having to leave us for things to happen. Yeah, exactly. Support our local businesses.
Your local business, baby. Malcolm, you're Pan-African Africa.
Share passports.
That's what you want.
I mean, ultimately, there's food resources that can allow us to live comfortably within our continent without looking outwards.
Yeah.
I would love a world where, if you are going to university, you'd have your pick of the bunch across all the African countries, and the quality of education is good enough to compete on the global stage. And, maybe we have a little more power in one of those, like government, global spaces, united as maybe one voice, that kind of thing. I'll be like, okay, now we're cooking. When we have that, I'll say, okay, yeah, they did something.
That's fair. That's fair.
For sure.
Okay, I just segued us there.
So segue us back, right? Segueing us back, rather. So you ended up leaving South Africa, right? And now you're in Austin, Texas.
Yes.
So, why not go back to Burundi? Or your body was still hot for outside?
You went to go back to...
Why not?
Now I started at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
As in, like, go back after South Africa, go back to Burundi?
Yeah. Like, why US?
US. I came here for, what's it called, I always kind of wanted to be here for university, which is weird as well. I think a lot of us as well from ALA was pretty common for a good majority of us to come here for schooling. Why not Burundi? Yeah, I knew I'd never really wanted to do my university education in Burundi, and I'm glad I was blessed enough to not to do it outside. I just from where Burundi is standing at the moment, I don't know if it was going to really give me the global exposure that I wanted to have. So yeah, I think in that sense, that's the main point for me, was that it was going to be a little limited in terms of...
Yeah, it's also kind of hard to do that, because once your horizon has been expanded like that, it's hard to return to something else.
Yeah, like you see more now.
Yeah. Okay, so how does that move compare? Like, how did they move to South Africa? Where everybody for the most part looks like you. How did that compare to them being in the US?
With the whites.
Yeah, whites in South Africa.
Yes.
Yes. I'd say, how does it compare? I was definitely less nervous because I was ground and I could communicate and advocate for myself.
The English is up now.
It was giving multilingual body at that point. But yeah, moving here, what was different? Let me compare it. I always say that I made the mistake of like ALA gave me, it was such a beautiful experience that I knew it was a bubble that could not always be replicated outside of our campus. And I think with that kind of mentality when I got to campus, when I knew I could never form the type of community that I had at ALA, I did not make an effort of like reaching out. And there are also all these stereotypes of people who had gone to school here who tell you about being an African student in the US and having to deal with what you deal with. That I limited myself from experiencing that myself as opposed to, I did not really experience it myself. I was like, I really don't want that. So I stuck with people who had the same experience as me. So I'm guessing other African students are on campus. So I didn't really try to integrate with other students on campus. And I think that's a mistake I really regret. So yeah, I chased comfort and familiarity as opposed to allowing myself to have a new experience. So that was the difference being on campus in the US, I'm saying.
If it makes you feel any better, Malik went to chase it for us and he said there's nothing out there. There's nothing there.
Oh really? He tried the...
I was gonna be fully American, I wasn't gonna change my name or anything, but I was like, fully commit into American culture, fraternity life, all that fun stuff.
Not divine line, like Isaac Park.
Come on, bro. And they're like definitely like benefits to fraternity life, not even just divine line, like your traditionally Caucasian fraternities, all that good stuff. But it just wasn't for me. I don't think that might necessarily be everybody's experience.
What was it for you that felt like it wasn't for you?
It didn't feel comfortable. Like it felt too forced. I felt like I was just working hard. I'm like, what's happening right now? Like,
you feel like you're performing.
Yes, and I was like, I'm not going to do this forever. I don't like this. So it don't work.
And like I didn't have a lot of like the African student. Like I had my ACS, and honestly, like I ended up leaving that school anyways because I still wasn't like very comfortable. But like I can't imagine having survived those 2 years without it. So like maybe that comfort was actually like a blessing in disguise. But then again, the human beings, we always want what we can't have. So
yeah, I think I could have relied on my my African family who had what's called Pass Up an African Student Association, which was I think my entire personality and life on campus. I could have allowed myself to just like branch out a little bit, not necessarily just dip in the water just a little bit. But I never did any of that. Just a little. But I never did any of that. I think it's okay to just, you're in a new country, just expand. But look, it is what it is, I guess.
It is what it is, yeah. How did, I guess, your experience in South Africa, and even just like in the US with like your ACS people, how did that evolve your perception of other Africans? Like from being in Burundi to like now being a global,
For me, like before I didn't really met any other Africans until I came to the US, Living in Nigeria, mostly Nigerians. I think the first time I ever really met other Africans was outside of Africa. And for some reason, I just expected them to have the same energy as
Nigerians.
Yes.
Oh, don't know why not.
That was the reason that I kind of realized that, we are the odd ones out here. I felt like other Africans connected
better.
Yes, than than I did or West Africans did with them. I feel like someone from Tanzania and someone from Kenya, like they would get along a lot more than West Africans, even within West Africa, besides Ghana, like I feel like other countries too are a little more not as
Now,
full of themselves.
Now, why do you think that is?
Beyond the why? I don't know why.
He sips water. I think we're grateful of ourselves. I know it's so crazy. I actually know somebody. So I know we'll beep his name out. But actually said to me, like, when he first met like you and like your Nigerian friends, like he didn't think you guys like, he definitely felt you guys be like almost separate yourself. And so I think it's a thing where like Nigerians will. I was saying like cliquish behavior. I can't believe Nigeria was your first friend. We very much tend to like stick with ourselves a lot. So we make it hard for like other people to really like come in and like be a part of our friendships.
I think we just think everything.
And so then they're like, oh, another African. But for Nigerians, it's like, oh, another Nigerian. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure I follow. Did you get that, Loïc? Say it again.
Okay. So how those other Africans are able to find comfort within each other.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, nice, another African.
Yeah.
But for Nigerians, we would rather find that comfort in another Nigerian
than another African.
Because to us, to some extent, another African is still a foreigner.
So are we taught to be like...
I don't know. I think we just have main character energy.
That's it. Hard. Like hard. Like...
He said, that's it, on the head.
Ding, ding, ding.
How does that come off to other Africans? Yeah, how does that come off?
How does it come off? I guess it can become very like can feel like the African experience is being monopolized because you know, a Nigerian experience and like Nigerian way of growing up is not the same as somebody from Botswana, somebody from from Chad, from Djibouti. So you can feel very like
but what taught it?
It should be to Nigeria.
A lot of pride. We're taught, you carry yourself, you are easy, like we're taught that. So we now feel like everyone else is either you're with us or against us, like kind of mentality. We're actually taught to think ourselves better than everyone else. It's part of our culture.
There has to be a way to
say something worse. Because the same way, like I feel like Americans also taught that America is the greatest place in the world.
Yes.
Everything revolves around you.
USA. USA
is the exact.
I don't know they carry that. That's the same thing.
I'm leaving this podcast.
Yeah, they do. They do say Nigerians are the Americans of Africans.
Who says that? You just made that up.
Me, I say it's me. I say
no. It is the truth.
So we need to do better.
Listen, y'all, if y'all, I can't talk mess about y'all. I've got too many Nigerian friends. I've got a lot to lose. So you're still gonna have to find another African to talk mess, not me.
Face.
Guys, I'm not back. I'm big.
Me as a Nigerian, I think I'll tell the Nigerians.
How do you fix that?
How do we actually fix that? I think that's something we can discuss maybe in another episode because I think it's like one of those situations where like white people now start asking black people, so how can we let's figure that out ourselves.
Good idea.
Okay. Okay. I have one more question. Malik, do you have any questions? All right. So I have one more question for you, Loïc. Would you consider living in South Africa again? And would you recommend just like living in Africa
to other Africans who are considering leaving their home country?
Without a shadow of a doubt. I think if you can, definitely, not even just South Africa. I feel like after living in South Africa will probably be my last option because I've already experienced that. But I definitely, after experiencing what it feels like living on the continent, we're all taught to just going to these Western countries and all these, the Americas, the West essentially. But after living in South Africa, then you just start to wonder, like, why are we never encouraged to be somewhere else on the continent? I have a dream of like living in Ivory Coast. I also want to live in Kenya at some point. So yes, I would recommend anybody who's able to actually experience that. I think it's really nice.
Okay, I'll start with Ghana. That one I've not even done that one.
Even Ghana, that's true. That's great.
Anyone.
I went to Togo. Togo was nice.
Does Togo count?
Togo is not Nigeria. What do you mean?
Yeah, but like that trip you're talking about, does it count?
Yes.
Does it count?
Because we also stayed, I don't know about you guys, but we stayed on the school campus. Yeah, we stayed on the school campus. Now, to be fair, the kids were not in. Actually, yeah, there were a couple of students that were in the boarding school with us. Yeah.
Yeah, also went hotel with, sorry.
Yeah, no. Okay. And also I did like a little stint at ALA for like a week for like one of their programs, and I really enjoyed myself there. Like Mr.
I feel like we've never met up actually.
What?
I'm saying we should have met up.
Yeah, we probably we probably crossed ourselves on the hallways, but like just didn't know. Yeah. But Mr. Fred Swanica, if you're listening to this, let's talk now. Let's talk. Because your vision, I'm so tapped in, bro. Like, I respect it hard. And I feel like it's the same essence that, like, makes a podcast like this exist. Because I was able to come here and realize we actually have a lot of shared experiences. And wouldn't it be nice for us to just talk about it together? Yeah.
Buzz that line.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this 6th episode. Loïc, where can people find you on the internet if you would like to be found?
Yes. Instagram. I guess my social media. Instagram. IAMKAZE. On LinkedIn as well, because we love a good network situation. Loïc, Loic, last name Kaze, Kaze.
Okay, nice. And for everybody else who's listening, because we love our African people so much,
go and donate.
Yes.
Please donate.
To where and where?
We are matching donations up to
$1,000
for.
No, you say it now.
No, for
Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo.
And I knew that.
Yeah, we're making really good progress. So thank you guys so much. Until next week. Adios.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
You want to be like French, but you say au revoir.
Au revoir.
You don't even know.
Bye.